Hey, good morning, Steve. This is a bit of a long demo for you. I've got a custom saber that was powder coated by Christopher Royal over at Royal Custom Armory, and then I've got your Corbanth kit Fisto. We'll start with the custom saber from Christopher. This is installed with a Proffie. It's got a 2-button setup. So you've got your brass switch up here will be your power. Your black switch back here will be your auxiliary. I did try to weather this a little bit. It doesn't take to weathering very well. It has a finish on it. And you and I didn't speak about that until after I'd put it on. So I'll try a few more techniques before I send it out. But I wanted to hurry up and sit down and get these demos out to you so that you know that they're finished. All right. You've got a new Carl Chen PCB in there for your Neopixel connector. And then how to get to your chassis is you just want to unscrew your handle. When taking this handle off, you'll want to be careful because, as I'm sure you're aware, up on the top here, you have 2 timing shims. So I made sure I didn't lose those, but they are right here. If you're not careful, they'll fall out. All right, so just be mindful of that. But this is your chassis. I went with a design like this just to kind of match the aesthetic of the actual saber. All right, so you've got that your Proffie board right here with easy access to your SD card and your micro USB. I've got the stock font package on here, and I put my font on here as well. But you'll also find a copy of the config file that I used on your SD card so you can build from that. All right. You've got a kill switch right here. This is running a 28mm Smuggler's Outpost dark side speaker. It has a lot of bass and it sounds really good in this saber. And then you have a removable battery setup right here. All right, so we'll go ahead and throw a battery in this guy. Battery fits in there nice and tough. Come over here and flip your kill switch. And then you can just throw your handle right on. All right, and then those timing shims, of course, allow you to tighten up that handle so that you can align this opening with your switches and everything is symmetrical. All right, but when we're done locking that down, we can come over here and hit power. Auxiliary down here. Tap the power to turn it off. We'll throw a blade in here. This is set up for a full length 1-inch diameter blade. All right, but I've just got my test blade that I use for the space because if I use a full length blade, sometimes I hit my ceiling. So this is a TriStar test blade of mine. Tighten down that blade retention. You have 2 grub screws here. You'll look at this one down here I didn't use. I just left it there so you know there wasn't an open gap in the saber. This guy right here. But this one over here, that's your blade retention. So that's the one you're going to want to tighten down. These are both installed with the Proffie V3s that you provided. To play your soundtrack, it's just a long press on the power when the saber's off. This one starts out kind of soft and then gets a little louder. And then it's the same thing to turn it off. Just a long press on the power. All right, and then go to the next sound font. You just want to hit tap the auxiliary. This is a good color right here to see your blaster bolt deflex. So that's just tapping on the auxiliary. Blade lockups, holding it down and hitting the saber. You get some good flash on clash. Just a white blade on this one. We'll do one more.
Smooth fuzz.
With a just a green one on this one. Right? So very solid when everything is put together. I did go a little conservative on the sound volume on your config file. I think I have it set to 1500. With these dark side speakers, you can go up to 2000 is a normal setting. You can go up to maybe 2300 if you want it just a little bit louder. But you can definitely do it higher than what I've got. All right, and then we'll go ahead, untwist our handle when we're done, and I'll show you that the kill switch works. So we'll come over here and hit power. See it on until we come over here and flip our switch, and then it kills everything, right? And then come over here and take this out with your finger, just like that. So that is your custom saber. We'll move on now to the Fisto saber by Corbanth. So this one was a little bit of a different setup because you have the two plungers here. You had mentioned to me, I didn't know if you got this secondhand or if you bought it straight from Corbanth, but one of your plungers didn't have a switch. And you took the spring out of a mechanical pencil and put it in there, which is a great idea. That is something that I do as well, and that should hold for you forever. You shouldn't have an issue with that. So now you can see each of these switches is on the spring system, and they're working fine. Your front switch will be your power. Your back will be your auxiliary. I did also put an additional 2 Neopixel accents into the chassis to light up these 2 lenses. One thing about these lenses, which had me questioning it also if you got this second hand, was this one in the back was nice and clear. All right, and then this one in the front looked like it was actually a lens from an LED because it wasn't having very good shine through. I had to unscrew it and look at the back. It had 2 prongs in it, like it was just a lens from an LED, right? So I had to go in there and I had to cut that down a little bit. There was no getting that lens out of the greebly. It was nice and glued in there, however it was put in there. So I had to actually cut the threads down a little bit on that guy until I got past those 2 prongs and actually got it to have some shine through. So that's what I did there, and it works fine now. But again, you have that Carl Chan PCB in there for your Neopixel connector. And then how to get to your chassis is you want to unscrew this handle as well. Now, originally when I unscrewed this handle, what I noticed was I wasn't paying attention, and I moved this handle like that, and all of these rings just fell out. I mean, there was probably, 3 or 4 of them. So what I did was I went through on the very last one. I did glue that down so that it holds all of these in place, and you don't have that worry anymore. All right, so these are a little free floating back here. They don't hurt anything, but this last one here is glued down and it holds everything in. All right, so that's what I did there. The size of the handle on this guy required a smaller speaker. So what I did was I used a fully enclosed 24 millimeter Smuggler's Outpost speaker. All right, so you can see on that chassis how it's fully enclosed. So it sounds really good as well. All right, so same kind of setup though. This is typically what I do. Your Proffie board up here on a shelf, easy access to everything. The same stock font package, but I also have my font on this one as well. All right, and then a removable battery setup. You still have your config on your SD card, but you'll notice on the config on this one, it has 3 blade styles per font. So your first blade style will be your blade. Your second blade style will be the front lens, and then your third and final blade style will be the back lens. That's how I have that set up. All right, so we'll go ahead and throw a battery in this guy. Turn this off and come over here and flip your switch. These LEDs are on a timer, so if you don't turn on the saber right away, they will time out. But if you come over here and turn it on, I got your green one staying on and your red one pulses when the saber's on, right? And then they react to the auxiliary button being pressed. We'll turn it off just like that. This one also has the Proffie V3 that you supplied. All right, but when we're done, we can put that battery in, put our handle on. Everything's nice and snug so that when you tighten this all down, it's a very solid saber. All right. We'll throw a blade in this guy too. This also takes a 1-inch diameter blade. All right, so we'll throw a blade in here. This one is kind of a tight fit. I would highly suggest you sand your blade if you're having a tight fit issue like this. I can't sand mine because I need it for other sabers. But normally what you'd want is that blade just loose enough to where you can come in here, put it in the emitter, and you know as soon as you hit those pins because you can feel it. All right. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it on. That way I know as I'm pushing this down, since there's so much resistance, I'll see the blade turn on and I know to stop pushing it in. Just like that. Typically, that's not something that you'd want to do, so just give your blade a little bit of a sanding. All right, but if you do need to lock your blade in, you have a blade retention screw right inside of that rib right there. All right, so we'll hang out here for a second so that I can show you that these LEDs do in fact turn off when the saber is left off for a moment. Should be any second now, really. Just like that. All right, so they'll time out and they won't kill your battery. Auxiliary. Same kind of button setup as the other saber, so they're both identical, minus the 2 extra blade styles for your blinkies. So blade lock up. And then your soundtrack, of course, is a long press on the power. This one also starts off kind of soft and then gets a little louder. But it's the same thing to turn it off as well, long press on the power. Right, and then another sound font.
Smooth fuzz.
Very easy to press.
Smooth Jedi.
Just like that. All right, and then when we're done, go ahead and take our blade out. You got plenty of blade depth in both of these, so you shouldn't have an issue with that in case you want to duel with these. But even if you don't, your blade won't fall out. All right, and then again, when we're done, I'll take our handle off and I'll show you that this kill switch works as well. So power. Come over here and flip our switch. Whoops, other way. And then everything is dead. All right, so we'll go ahead and take this out. If you find it hard to take it out with your finger, of course you can use the back of a pair of tweezers or something, but you shouldn't have that hard of a time. I did make them kind of firm in there though, so they wouldn't bounce around. It's pretty typical of an install. All right, but we'll lock this down. I'll put this back in the box. Let me know if you have any questions on either of these guys, and if not, I will try my best to get them out in the mail to you today. All right, thanks, man.